All right, what's up, people? Today I have a special video for you guys. I have put about 150 hours into the First Descendant. It is honestly such a fun game, in my opinion, at least. I know I've been getting a lot of shit for saying that it's better than Warframe or whatever. I still think it is. At some point I will play Warframe, but I personally think it's a really good game. But today I have 5 tips that I'm going to share with you guys after playing the game for about 150 hours. So these are just really generalized tips. They're not really meant for any specific part of the game or any specific like part of progression. These aren't specifically for hard mode. They're not specifically for normal mode. These are just generalized tips for the game itself. Now, getting into it, we actually do have a tip mainly for hard mode. Now, I, like most people, was just told by a lot of people who were already in hard mode, hey, once you get to hard mode, make sure you level up the increased HP and the increased defense modules for your Descendant. Now, this isn't wrong information, but it's very misguided. How HP and defense modules work, and this is not just for those specific blue modules, these are for any modules that say increase HP or increase defense. It doesn't work exactly as it says it does, because what I expected was to just use the increase, HP and increase defense modules and just not die, because, hard mode is the enemies do a lot more damage, so you needed those modules in order to not die. This is very wrong. And after a lot of research, I realized, and maybe I'm slow to this, but those only increase your base HP and your base defense. Meaning if you have a very low defense, even if you max out the defense mod, you will not be able to survive a lot of stuff. The main important factor when it comes to going into hard mode and being able to increase your survivability is raising your base defense and your base HP. Shields aren't as important, and I can real quickly get into this. Shields are not as important for most characters. Of course, there's characters like Ajax where you really want shields, but for most characters, you just got to worry about defense and you just have to worry about HP. Shields don't really mean anything as of yet. I'm sure at some point they'll probably release mods in the future that make shields more important, but right now HP and defense are the main 2 stats to focus on. But the way you increase your base HP and your base defense to make the mods actually do something useful is by getting external components that say max HP increase or something with max HP, something with max defense. If you don't have those, the modules will do absolutely nothing for you. And I've learned that the hard way by dying a ton over and over and over again, because I put the mods on expecting to just live everything, but that's not how it works. You need to have a high base HP and a high base defense in order for those mods to actually mean something. Now, whether or not you should prioritize defense or HP, that just depends on your build. I personally prioritize both, where I raise both my HP and my defense just to make sure I can survive basically everything in the game. You could focus solely on defense, you could focus solely on HP. That really just depends on you, on how you want to play the game. Me personally, I prioritize both HP and defense. So yeah, long story short, make sure you get good external components, and I'll talk about how to get external components later on this video, but make sure you get good external components to boost your base stats, because the base stats make the actual mods do something. The second tip is character selection. In the game, there is a very, very rudimentary type system. Similar to Pokemon, every enemy has a type they're weak to and a type they are strong against. Take the Pyromaniac, for example. He is a boss in the game that does fire damage. Now, he is really resistant against fire, so that means you basically can't do fire damage to him, but he's also very weak to chill, which means you can do a lot of chill damage to him. So getting a character or getting weapons that have these elements are really useful, especially when it comes to farming these bosses, because at some point you will be farming these bosses. So for characters, I specifically recommend 5. And there are 2 types of characters that I want to talk about. Obviously, there are the elemental characters, the elemental type characters. So think Viessa for chill, Frenya for toxic, Bunny for electric, Lepic for fire, and Enzo for non-elemental or non-attribute. And then there's also specific characters that are used not for type advantages, but to do something specifically, like Enzo. We'll get into that in a second, but type characters. Obviously, for chill and toxic, there's only 2, which is Frenya for toxic, Viessa for chill. I'm sure there'll be more in the future, but right now those are the only 2 characters you can get for those 2 elements. For electric, I recommend Bunny because she's very good at basically just everything. We'll get into that later on in the video. For fire, I recommend Lepic because he is a very, very free to play character. You can get him pretty fast. You don't have to do a lot to get him. And he's also just really good. I've seen some videos on Lepic just doing a crazy amount of damage. He's a good character. You can get him very quickly. So Lepic is who I recommend for fire. And for non-attribute, I recommend Enzo. Now there's a specific reason why I'm going to recommend Enzo, and that is because Enzo falls into the category of a specialized character. If you don't know, Enzo is able to make the encrypted caches easier to unlock, and they give you more rewards if you're on Enzo specifically. So he is not just a non-attribute character, he does a little more than that. Sharon is another one of those types of characters where they're a lot more specialized. Sharon has an ability called Active Camo, and Active Camo allows you to complete successful infiltrations on these strategic outposts. Now, if you don't know, strategic outposts have two different completion requirements. One, where you destroy all of the power units and defeat the boss at the end, or you somehow infiltrate the strategic outposts and hack the power units, and then you kill the boss at the end. The only way to infiltrate is by not being discovered by enemies, and Sharon, with her active camo ability, makes this a lot easier to do and a lot easier to complete. Whenever you do complete a successful infiltration, you not only get a higher chance of rewards, but you could also straight up get different rewards in some cases. And it makes farming these strategic outposts a whole lot easier if you have Sharon. So TLDR, make sure you have a character that covers every type, being chill, toxic, electric, fire, and non-attribute. And then also make sure you pick up characters that are helpful in other scenarios, like Enzo with encrypted caches and Sharon for strategic outposts. My next point or tip is focus your grind. Now, the easiest way to say this is do grinding one at a time. Very, very one-dimensional grinds. You do not need to hit everything all at once. And to further this, I recommend doing two things. One, getting a workhorse weapon. Now, if you don't know what that means, this means a weapon that you will use constantly throughout your entire grind. For example, the Thunder Cage. The Thunder Cage is a very, very strong and solid weapon, even into endgame. And to make this into a workhorse weapon, you just gotta max it out. You have to keep upgrading it, keep upgrading. At some point, the Thunder Cage will be able to carry you through literally every activity in the game, and it'll make grinding everything else a lot easier if you just make sure the Thunder Cage is maxed out. Same thing with a built character. This is where Bunny comes back into mind, where Bunny is able to not only clear mobs really quickly, but she's also able to kill bosses very quickly if you build her correctly. So I fully recommend that you grab either a weapon that you like or a character that you like, you max them out first, and then you start moving on to other things like grinding out energy activators or crystallization catalysts, other characters, ultimate descendants, other weapons. But make sure you have at least a main weapon and a main character that you're going to use when you're grinding these other things, because it makes it a whole lot easier to grind everything. So TLDR, grind out a character that will help you get to the point you want to get to, grind out a weapon that'll help you get to the point you want to get to. It makes grinding so much easier, and if you pick things you enjoy, it's a lot more fun. The fourth point I have is to understand how easy you have it in this game. There are two specific menus that will tell you basically everything you need to know about this game and more. First up, this is a menu everybody should know. This is basically one of the first menus they show you in game. It's the access info menu. No surprise there. If you didn't know about it, you should know about it. Basically, in the access info menu, this will show you a list that tells you basically where to find everything and everything in the game. It shows you all of the modules, all of the external components, all of the amorphous materials, all of the enhancement materials, the weapons of the descendants. It basically tells you where to get everything in the game. If you wanted to get the Firing Fiesta Ultimate mod, you would open up your access info menu, click acquisition info, and it would show you exactly how to get the Firing Fiesta mod. And you have to find out exactly the best way to grind whatever it comes from, but it tells you where you can get this stuff. It tells you that for basically everything, including getting materials for specific characters. If you wanted to grind the character, it tells you exactly where to get the items you need to grind to make that character. The second menu, and arguably the most important menu in the game, is the difficulty level rewards menu. You find this menu by going into your map, and at the bottom of your world map specifically, you will see a icon that says difficulty level rewards. This menu tells you three things that are all all very important, probably the most important in the game. The first thing is it tells you how to get reactors. Now, for some reason, they don't explicitly say this. I think they like say it in like messages and shit. People are skipping that stuff. So I'll make it very simple. Reactors are basically the main source of your skill damage. These are like the things that you get dropping all the time. They're very important. To find reactors, you go to this menu and you search up exactly what reactor you want to get. Let's say we want a general rounds reactor for our Thunder Cage. We're using Bunny, so we need it to be electric, and Bunny has singular skills. You would go to the difficulty level rewards menu, put in general rounds, electric element, and singular type. It will tell you exactly where these items are the reactors are dropping at that moment. So currently, as we speak, the electric reactor with general rounds and a singular type is dropping in the forward base in Hagios. This is exactly where I would go if I wanted to farm this specific reactor. The second thing the difficulty rewards menu tells you is the external components. Like I said before, external components are probably the most important thing when it comes to going into hard mode, because they will help you survive a lot longer. They'll help you get more modules. They'll help you get more Cooper shards, more gold. External components are very, very important, and knowing where to get these are even more important. So currently, as we speak, if we go into the difficulty level rewards menu, I can click on memory, and it says that the memory external component is dropping in the mountaintops in the White Knight Gulch. I would go to the White Knight Gulch and I would farm missions here to get memory drops. That is probably the most important part of this menu. This is how you get your external components. Now, the last thing in this menu, last but not least, is the reward rotation. Now, there is probably a long-winded explanation on what the reward rotation is, but to put it simply, the reward rotation is a way of telling you exactly what's dropping for this rotation. So currently, in this reward rotation, the auxiliary power external component and the memory external component is dropping, but the processor external component and the sensor external component is not dropping. For that, we have to wait until the next reward rotation. This is basically how you're going to farm your external components. You have to wait until you need the right external component, you farm it up, and then you wait until you get the next one. Usually on each reward rotation, there'll be two types of external components. So currently it is the memory and the auxiliary power. So once you're done farming those, you would move on to the sensor and the processor, and you would farm those. And you would keep doing that until you have a perfect set of external components. This is also the same for reactors. If you wanted a electric general fusion reactor, that currently isn't in the reward rotation, so you would have to wait until it is. And usually these switch out, but they switch out weekly. So you can go to this difficulty level rewards. At the bottom, there'll be a button that says all rewards, and you can see exactly when is dropping and where it's dropping. So if we go in 4 days from now, the sensor is dropping in the Echo Swamp along with electric, heavy, I think that's dimensional reactors. This is very, very important when it comes to optimizing your grind and optimizing your farming. You don't want to sit there and waste time farming for a reactor or a external component that just won't drop. This is how you find out when things are dropping. This is how you optimize when you're going to farm this stuff. Now, the last and final tip I have for you guys is honestly, just have fun. Just enjoy the game. Currently, we are in the almost earliest state of the game. There was just recently an update, and there's going to be another update in August, I think August 1st, but we are in a very early stage of the game. There is no need to rush anything. There's a lot of time before something big happens. You can grab some friends, put some music on in the background, and just enjoy your time playing this game, because I truly do believe that this is one of the most fun, grindy games of all time. And I don't care what you Warframe naysayers say, it is very, very fun to grind out this game, especially if you have friends you're talking to, or if you have music in the background, a video. This game is very, very easy. It really is easy. If you understand how everything works, the game becomes so much easier. I remember when I first got into hard mode, I kept dying to things. My weapons weren't doing doing any damage, and I was really having a rough time. But once I started to understand and figure out these things, the game became so much easier, and I'm honestly playing an entirely different game than when I first entered hard mode, because your enjoyment of the game is really all that matters. Doesn't matter how easy it is, doesn't matter how hard it is. If you enjoy something, you're gonna keep playing, and that's exactly what this video is supposed to be. This video is supposed to be me telling you the tips that I learned in order to enjoy the game a lot more. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, comment what you think about these tips. This is the first time I've really done one of these like tip sort of videos, but I feel like it's necessary when it comes to explaining a lot of the stuff in the game, because some of this stuff is genuinely just not explained by the game itself. So I feel like I should tell you guys exactly, especially since I've actually spent 150 hours in this goddamn game. So I feel like I should tell you guys my information so you guys can enjoy the game a lot more. And yeah, that's about it. See ya. And for those of you who made it to the end of the video, I just want to give a huge thank you to you guys for supporting my last video on the First Descendant so much. That really just motivated me to make this video and to continue to make more First Descendant videos. So I just want to give a huge thank you to you guys. And yeah, see you later.